Hello. I set my clocks forward an hour, but stuff still happens. So what's up? Apple is pulling some next level bullshit for people in the EU and everyone. So it wasn't long ago that the iPhone got USB-C, finally, because the EU forced their hand. You know, that thing where you pass regulation to improve the lives of consumers. Anyway, the EU went off to go do another one of those and made it so that Apple has to allow third-party app stores on iPhone, to which Apple said, fuck you. Now, they did comply. They had to, because laws. And if you're in the EU, you'll be able to get third-party app stores on your iPhone, but only if you are in the EU. If you leave, it's gone. Quite literally, if you take your iPhone out of the EU for more than 30 days, they disable the ability for you to use those third-party app stores. Just gone. You can't get updates, can't get new apps, gone. Apple is very loud about calling this a privacy thing, a security thing, saying that having third-party app stores is a security risk, and so on and so forth. To which I say, fuck off. No, it's not. I get it, I understand. But that's what policies are for, not legal policies, phone policy. If you work in IT, you know what I'm talking about. If you truly need your iPhone to be secure, there are methods of locking it down. That's fine. Give those methods to people and give them the option to install third-party app stores. I bought it. I should be able to put whatever I want on it. I mean, you can with jailbreaking, and you know what I mean. The average person shouldn't have to jailbreak their device to install a random app. Anyway, here's the dumbest part, and here's the example of why this is not just them exercising their business right, but instead, like, literal malfeasance. Apple released a beta of their next version of the operating system in which you could no longer install web apps on your phone. Now, for a lot of people, this doesn't mean anything, but you have the ability to install a website onto your homepage like an app. And in a lot of cases, they have additional app-like functionality when you do that. They're called progressive web apps. They are fine, but they're useful. They really help when there's not otherwise an app available. And Apple wanted to just get rid of them because they were like, well, we support third-party app stores, so we don't need to do this anymore. Never mind that we support third-party app stores in the EU and only in the EU, and if you leave, it's gone. There are a lot of these progressive web apps, and they're used for a lot of different reasons. And so developers were like, hey, what in the fuck? They rallied super hard against Apple, and Apple was like, okay, psych, just kidding. The next update, we will restore that functionality. For now. Like, quite literally, they just deleted the ability to get more value out of your device. Why? What are you doing? I mean, I know what you're doing. You're trying to get everybody to use your app store, so they have to use your payment methods. You can take a cut for everything, so you can profit more off your ecosystem with lock-in and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, there's that. More like Ripster Teeth. Am I right? Famous internet publisher Rooster Teeth is kill. They are gone. They're bye-bye. They were acquired by Warner Bros. In 2021, and then they were murdered by Warner Bros. In today. The reasons for shutting down were certainly some reasons. Here's a quote. Rooster Teeth is shutting down due to challenges facing digital media resulting from fundamental shifts in consumer behavior and monetization across platforms, advertising, and patronage, which means... It means reasons? It basically just sounds like things... What? Sounds like a skill issue to me. Anyway, I'm gonna be honest with you. Don't hate me. I know nothing about Rooster Teeth. I know that they have got like a really popular show. I believe it's called Rawubby, but I don't really know anything else about them. Like, I didn't even realize that they made Red vs. Blue. I thought that was somebody else. That's not me hating. If this is your people, this sucks. I know how it feels to lose your people. It's not great. It's not wonderful how many times we've had to like watch a thing that we care about just go up in flames. And like, yeah, Rooster Teeth has had some tumultuous history as of late. I'm aware of that. Like, I've been on the internet. You can't avoid that level of drama, but it still sucks. And I want to acknowledge that. I don't have to like a thing to acknowledge that fan bases will hurt after it's gone. Anyway, the moral of this story is rip, bye-bye. Here's something lovely. Let's do that instead of not. The words today, they're just not, they're not coming out in any reasonable format. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to deal with it. A woman in the UK was cleaning up trash on a beach when she found messages in a bottle. 3 of them. Three messages in one bottle, not 3 bottles with 1 message each. It was 3 in the 1. It was an old Coke bottle, and it had 3 messages in it that were written by school children 40 years ago, 1984. They wrote a book about it. So she opens them up and reads them, and it's cute. It's like an old school project, and these girls wrote a letter, message in a bottle, and they pretended that their teacher had like kidnapped them and forced them to do horrible things like learn math. It's kind of funny, kind of dark, but I dig it. Anyway, here's the fun part. The woman who found these messages in a bottle tracked down the women who originally wrote them 40 years on. They're all still somewhat in the area, and they're still friends. This is lovely. I like this. Let's ignore the part where it was a plastic bottle that was in the water for 40 years and didn't degrade. Let's ignore that and instead focus on that this is fun. This is nice. We like this. The US State of the Union happened, and I would have preferred to have forgotten that it happened. I did forgotten that it happened until the Republican response came out, and what? So a response to the State of the Union from the currently not in power party is not rare. That's normal. But having Senator Katie Britt sitting in a kitchen, nearly moved to tears about how America is going to hell and telling stories about sex trafficking is not normal. Tradwife senator sniping back at an 81-year-old man's speech is certainly a vibe. So she gave this whole speech. She talked about how we're going to hell and sex trafficking also as a reason that we need to lock up the border, and failed to mention that the sex trafficking story that she told happened in the early 2000s in Mexico. I suppose nothing of that sort has ever happened since then at all. Anyway, a lot of the headlines are about that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But also Biden said some dumb words. He said some words, but then he also said some dumb words. He was essentially baited into talking about that story that the Republicans were pushing about the trafficking thing. And he referred to someone as, quote, an illegal. In 2024, we're still referring to living, breathing human beings, you know, the neighbors that we're supposed to love thy, and illegal. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when they said love thy neighbor, they meant like your immediate next door neighbor in an American suburb. That's the neighbor that they were talking about, not the hungry one from a country we destabilized. Anyway, yeah, Biden said some words. Yep, TikTok is possibly being banned again in the US. Again, kind of. Again, sort of. Here's the state of play, because I've been seeing a lot of chatter about this, and a lot of people are missing some significant details. This is no hate, it's just people seem to not pay attention to civics. There is a bill in the US House of Representatives which would effectively force ByteDance to sell off TikTok. They're mad that ByteDance owns TikTok because China. Now, I would argue that it's more likely that these people are being paid by major media companies in the US who have a vested interest in TikTok going away. Otherwise, these bans would be more comprehensive and actually focused on improving the lives of Americans rather than just removing one single app because China. Anyway, the bill would force ByteDance to divest TikTok, which is probably not going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then they're going to fine Google and Apple an egregious amount of money for distributing the app. So it's not a TikTok ban. They can say it's not a TikTok ban, but it's a TikTok ban. Additionally, some of the leaders of the bill did outright call it a TikTok ban. And like the bill was titled like TikTok.pdf or some shit like that. Anyway, what happened is a committee in the House passed this bill unanimously. That doesn't mean it's passed. That means it's going to the floor for a full vote. Then the Senate has to also vote on it and pass it. And then the president has to sign it. And he said he would. And then it's going to be challenged in courts because First Amendment, because obviously the ACLU and the EFF are already saying they're going to do that. So like, no, the TikTok ban did not pass. That didn't happen. It passed a single committee to go to the floor, to do a vote, to go to another place, to do another vote. That probably won't pass because the Senate is led by Chuck Schumer and he's not one to pass tech regulations. That's not a guarantee. That's just that. So call your representatives. Annoy the hell out of them. TikTok did a push notification that asked people to call their representatives, and the representatives are not happy about that. Like, they were inundated with calls, and they were pissed. So if nothing else, call your representatives. Even if you don't believe in the process whatsoever, call your representatives just to be annoying. Just to be anywhere near as annoying as they are to us on a daily basis. Lightning round. United Airlines has had a lot of plane malfunctions recently, including a wheel just falling off of one of their planes after takeoff. If you recall that whole situation with Alec Baldwin being arrested because he shot somebody on set of the filming of the movie Rust, the armorer of that movie has now been found guilty for that incident. The beloved creator of Dragon Ball has passed away at the age of 68. A dude in Canada was arrested at a Walmart because he was threatening people with a katana. Yeah. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson are going to do a boxing match on Netflix. It's gonna make a lot of money. Tesla is now shipping their $3,000 tent attachment for the Cybertruck, and it looks terrible. If you recall all that hubbub about like room temperature superconductor stuff that a physics lab recently was like, we did it! We made a superconductor and it's perfect, and then nobody else could replicate that? Yeah, they're being investigated because it turns out there was a lot of bullshit there. Weird how I said this doesn't seem to be a thing that's real, and I got yelled at for it. It was a lie. Warner Bros. Really just doing some weird bullshit. They are now delisting Adult Swim games from Steam, like just removing those games entirely. They seem very interested in making everyone upset today. And finally for today, the next Super Mario movie has been announced, and it's dropping in early 2026, apparently. I hope we get to that year. That'd be nice. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Stuff Keeps Happening. Head to stuffkeepshappening.online for sources, bonus content, and a funky fresh beat made just for you. My name is Endeavorance. I'll be back on Monday. Take care and be well.